Hello foodie friends, we're on our way to Carver's Apple Orchard in Cosby, Tennessee because we're thinking that's where we're going to get the best things that we need to make our little treat bags, such as apples of course, but also oranges, and we also need mixed nuts. There's a lot that goes into these treat bags and I cannot wait to show you how we put them together. Now I did a little bit of Googling because I really wanted to see where did these little poke bags or treat bags start, and as far as I can tell they really did originate from the Appalachian mountain area. And you may be wondering, how did I get treat bags as a child if they're from Appalachia, but I was raised in Michigan? And that's because the church I went to was pretty much at least 95% Southern, and they kept up their traditions such as this little treat bag. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, a treat bag is one of the, I think, best parts of Christmas, because typically what would happen is you would go to church, usually when they're having the church Christmas play, and after the service you would be given this little bag of treats that I will show you how to put together. And it was just the best. It didn't matter how many toys I got that year, I swear the treat bag was still my favorite part of Christmas, as was my mom's. So we're almost there. We're fixing to pull into the driveway. So I'll show you what we get from there, and then we'll head on home and we'll put these together. So we got our apples, our oranges, and our mixed nuts, but we still have a few more things to pick up to make these treat bags complete, which is a candy cane, of course, and you always have to have some kind of chocolate. So we will be going back to Newport, checking out the Dollar Tree, and also going to Walmart, because that's probably where we're going to be able to find all the rest of the stuff that we need. I think we finally have everything. We had a little trouble finding the gum, which you have to, well, I guess you don't have to, but from my childhood, I specifically remember Juicy Fruit or Wrigley's Spearmint Gum being the gum of choice in the treat bags. But this is what I found at Walmart. And these are like big. That was not what was put into treat bags. I didn't think they made the little small ones anymore, and my mom kept saying, let's try the Newport Dry Goods, which is a really cool store. If you live anywhere in East Tennessee, you should check it out. They haven't changed the inside of that store since the 1970s, and I absolutely love it. It's so retro. It hasn't changed since I've lived here since the 90s, and it's just a really, really fun nostalgia trip to go in there. And she kept saying, I bet the Newport Dry Goods store will have that gum. I was like, no way. Like, why would they have that gum? Like, the specific gum that I'm looking for. And sure enough, we go in there after I had already bought the Walmart gum. And guess what? They had it in the size for the treat bags, and it was 4 for $1. Whereas at Walmart, these were $1 a piece. So, that's a lesson for you. Always listen to your mama.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have everything we need to put together these treat bags, or sometimes called poke bags, like the old English word. And you can see we've got our bags here. It has to be these brown paper lunch bags. If you put it in anything else, it is not a authentic treat bag. We do have some of these. We're going to put our little candies in there. But sometimes they wouldn't do that. I actually remember the candy just kind of being put in the bottom of the bag loose. We also have some chocolates. And of course, you have to have your apple oranges. We've got our mixed nuts. You always have to have some kind of peppermint, which we decided to go with the traditional candy cane, and then the pack of gum that Thank You Newport Dry Goods came through with the exact size that we needed. All right, I have a special treat for us today. After 3 years of having this YouTube channel, I finally convinced my dad to sell a few stories. And one of the reasons I did is because not only did he grow up in North Georgia in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, but a lot of his stories actually paralleled some of the stories that I read in the Foxfire cookbook that we had on the channel not too long ago. And in that cookbook, a lot of the people were sharing stories about how they had a really, really simple Christmas. As in, they would only get an apple, an orange, and maybe some penny candy on Christmas Day. But they couldn't really afford toys. And, you know, a lot of the things that we kind of go overboard with today. And so a lot of it was more community based, things that they would do together rather than like gifts that they would buy and give to people. And so I thought it was really cool that Dad actually remembers a similar upbringing to the stories that those people told. So first off, Dad, you remember having one of our ancestors. Well, what did he do? I'll let you tell it.
My great-great-grandfather had a small apple orchard, and he would harvest his apples and keep them for the whole winter. But at Christmas, he would go through the whole valley. It was Persimmon Valley, little valley in the North Georgia mountains. And he would go through the whole valley giving out apples for Christmas.
That's really cool.
He was well thought of. He was a pastor, and he was very religious, well thought of man in the community.
And what was his name?
Elihu Parker.
Okay. And he would, and I think that's actually really cool because not only do you still remember that, but that's a story that he passed down to me. And I'd say there's a bunch of people in Persimmon Valley that still remembers him and you know, like his story of him going around giving them apples out.
The story's been passed down. Most of the people from his generation naturally are deceased now.
Yeah.
But the story was passed down. He was a very giving man, and he's still remembered well in the family.
Yeah. And I love that story because, us talking about like going back to a simple Christmas, instead of just like the really stressful kind of Christmases that we kind of tend to have now. What that really says to me is something as simple and inexpensive as an apple that that he saved and give out to a lot of these more like poorer families in this valley, that is remembered more than like toys that they might have gotten, or you know what I mean? Like, I mean, that story is something that they've remembered to pass down, and I think that's really, really cool. And now, since we're making the treat bags, I wanted to know, like, and you had a really fun story about this too. You remember getting a treat bag, right, when you were a kid?
Definitely. That was a huge treat. My grandmother would take three of us, my brother and older sister, to church. It was about probably 2 miles to church. And she would she would take a kerosene lantern and walk us to church. And not only to get the treat bag, but most every service, she tried to get us in church.
Yeah.
But the treat bags were just looked forward to for the whole year. Yeah. I mean, that was a huge treat.
And what was like typically inside?
Usually an apple and an orange. A few nuts, and some hard candy.
Yeah.
And that was just unbelievable to us. We were so poor, we just didn't have much.
Yeah. And that is so neat because, like I was saying before, we tend to get so just having to go over the top and even go into debt sometimes for Christmas, when it was something like just an orange was just so exciting and was something that you still remember. And even though you've gotten way more expensive Christmas presents as an adult since then, but you still remember the treat bag as being the most special.
That's what sticks out in my mind.
Yeah.
The simple, it wasn't very expensive, but it just really sticks in your mind.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
And would they just put it in like a brown paper bag?
Brown paper bag.
Yeah, so you got to remember that brown paper bag because that's what makes it for some reason.
Yeah. Now, we had a small 40-acre farm that was in the family for generations, and we were, I guess you'd say, better off than a lot of the other people that lived in Persimmon Valley. But we were still poor. We ate a lot more wild game than we did, store-bought beef or pork.
Yeah.
And we canned a lot of vegetables through the summer, and we just lived very simply.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a lot of money to go buy the stuff with.
Yeah.
We had to live off the land. So that was the treat bags. That was a huge treat.
Yeah, because you couldn't grow an orange.
No. Oranges don't grow in North Georgia. No.
So that was something like, it was kind of exotic, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. That was, I remember one time a church bus come by the house, and they gave us a whole bag of oranges. I think it was like maybe a 10 or 20 pound bag. It was a huge bag of oranges. And I ate those oranges till I was actually physically sick. My mother was telling me to stop eating them, but I just kept right on eating them. They were so delicious and so, such a coveted thing. I just couldn't quit eating them till I got sick.
I mean, I probably would have done the same thing. Now, I had the opposite trouble. If Mom had a bag of candy in the house, and if I found it, I'd eat that till I got sick. But now you were telling me yesterday too that you didn't really get a lot of toys for Christmas, right? Like your parents
No.
didn't get you toys or anything?
We just couldn't afford it. I remember one year I was maybe, me and my brother, he's 2 years younger than me. I was maybe 9 or 10. He's a couple years younger. And a big converted church bus, converted school bus, they use it as a church bus. And the bus was just completely full of gifts. And my brother and I walked outside and was standing by the bus, and one of the people helping on the bus asked us if we had bicycles. And we said, no, sir, we've never had a bicycle. And they got 2 brand new bicycles of appropriate size for us off the bus and gave them to us. And we were unbelievably happy with those. We rode the wheels off of them.
Yeah.
I bet we had the tires slick in a month.
Yeah.
We really did dangerous things on them, too. We'd ride down steep hills, at 40 and 50, maybe even 60 miles per hour.
No helmets.
No helmet.
No knee pads, elbow pads, nothing.
No, we got injured numerous times.
Yeah. And you just toughed it out and had to get over it.
Yeah. There was no health insurance or anything like that, It was tough times.
Now, do you remember, besides the bicycles, did they, did the church bus ever come back every year, or was that just something that they did that one real special time because they had the money?
Well, I only remember it twice.
Oh, okay.
The church coming by the house. But like I said, there were a lot of people in that Persimmon Valley that were much poorer than us.
Yeah.
And so, and we tried to help neighbors when they needed help.
Yeah. Well, I'd say, did you swap a lot of vegetables and eggs and milk and stuff like did you all trade amongst yourselves if you could?
Yeah, we did. One family that lived near us, we had a milk cow, and one family that lived near us, we'd give them 3-4 gallons of milk a week. Mm-hmm. They had there's a large family, and we had more milk than we could use.
Yeah.
So we just gave the milk to them.
That's cool. So it's really kind of a close-knit community then.
Yeah.
Just trying to help each other, get through some hard times. I mean, this was probably majority 1950s and 60s.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Because by the late 70s, you had already joined the Army.
Yeah.
Right? And had, was traveling Europe and stuff like that through the Army. And then ended up in Michigan.
Well, in the 50s, in the Persimmon Valley there, the 50s was more like the 20s or 30s used to be in other parts of the country. We were way behind the rest of the country.
Well, I'd say, being deep down in a valley like that, surrounded by mountains, it was probably difficult to get infrastructure down in there.
Yeah.
Right, with the electricity and running water and stuff like that. And now this is Persimmon Valley, that's close to Clayton, right? Is that still considered in the same county?
Rabun County, yeah.
Okay, so this is all in Rabun County where the Foxfire cookbook is still being produced today. So that's really cool. But now Clayton has actually become, now I remember it as kind of wasn't it about a one stop sign town or one red light town?
One red light in the middle of town when I was growing up.
And now it's actually become a vacation spot for rich people in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And they buy, they've got homes up there now. And now downtown Clayton has kind of become a tourist town.
Yeah.
In it with little boutiques and cafes and all that stuff. So it's amazing to see you remembering it the way you do and now seeing it today. You would never even know it.
Oh, no. It's entirely different. On the weekends, all the Atlanta people coming up, it's the locals don't even go to town on the weekend anymore. The traffic's so heavy.
Yeah.
They don't even go to town.
That's crazy. And now, when you were growing up, you were literally grown up in a log cabin, wasn't it? That your uncle had built?
No, it was a kind of like looked like barnwood. It was just an old mountain shack.
Okay.
And I remember snow would blow through the cracks. If it came of snow, you'd wake up with snow on the floor where it blowed through the cracks.
Yeah.
It was I guess a miserable way to live looking back on it.
Yeah.
Then that's just the way it was.
It's just normal.
Yeah, it's just normal.
Yeah. And now that same area is populated by some pretty big houses, isn't it? From people from Atlanta and
like $3 to $5 million mansions. There's a big winery, 400 acres of grapevines.
Yeah.
Which is good in a way, because the valley didn't get chopped up into little small parcels and overpopulated.
Yeah,
It's still a beautiful valley.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous down there. You've got Tallulah Gorge. You've got beautiful things to see, within driving distance of that area.
Yeah, they call it the Tallulah Gorge. They call it the Grand Canyon of the East.
Yeah, I mean it is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, as far as Christmases went, did your family, I know, if they couldn't give you a gift or anything like that, did they ever cook anything special, or, did Granny make a dinner or anything like that?
Yeah, no, we'd always have a big Christmas dinner and a big Thanksgiving dinner.
Do you remember what she made?
Oh, goodness. A lot of times, rather than turkey, we'd usually have a big chicken, a big rooster, and we would have pies, and because we had the apples and all the fruits, wild fruits, wild berries. So we had good dinners for Christmas and Thanksgiving.
I bet she cooked good.
Oh my gosh, she could make anything. She could make squirrel taste like filet mignon.
Now we called her Granny, but what was her actual name?
Ellen
Parker. Well, she became a Kilby.
Yeah.
But her maiden name was Parker.
Right.
So she was related, right, to Elihu?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was her daddy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and she was just a wonderful cook, just unbelievable with wild game.
Yeah, and I remember her being one of the sweetest people I think I'd ever met. Just soft-spoken, just so gentle and kind.
She would never hurt anyone's feelings. And I remember once a man knocked on the door. And she answered the door, and he told her that he hadn't eaten in 3 days, and that, if she had anything that she could give him, he would appreciate it. Well, we had, I think, 3 or 4 biscuits left over from breakfast, and she put the biscuits in a bag, and she looked in her purse. She had $6. And she gave him $3 and a little bag of biscuits.
Yeah, wow.
And he was tickled to death.
And that's just who she was.
Yeah.
I mean, and it must have, she must have learned that from watching her dad.
Yeah.
Saving them apples and delivering it, for Christmas and stuff like that. So he really imparted in her, a giving spirit.
Definitely. Definitely. I think it's the way you're raised, it tells a lot about what you're going to be in the future.
Yeah.
The way you're raised. If you're raised in a loving, giving environment, that's most likely the way you'll turn out.
Yeah. And she did. She proved it.
Yeah. Christmases were usually kind of like non-events.
Oh.
You know,
Okay.
it was, it'd be a few little special things we'd do, but mostly it was just another day.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a lot of money, wasn't a lot of giving you could do.
Yeah.
And we rarely ever even had a Christmas tree. Because,
Okay.
you had to have all the decorations, the
Yeah.
lights to go
Yeah.
on the tree and all that. And we rarely ever, I was probably a teenager before I saw our first Christmas tree.
And that's something I just automatically assumed you had a little tree or something, because that's something I took for granted.
Yeah.
Because we had a Christmas tree, or I did growing up every year.
Yeah,
We'd go out
yeah.
and go to the Christmas tree farm and get us a Christmas tree, which, if you're from Michigan, you know that there's pine trees everywhere. So that's just what you do. You get you a pine tree.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It would have cost a lot of money to get the lights and decorations and stuff like that. And so that's not something you would waste money on when you
No,
needed
no.
to buy food.
Yeah, definitely. Or clothes.
Yeah.
And we didn't get shoes until school started.
Yeah.
We'd get one pair of new shoes a year, and I couldn't wait for summer to get those shoes off. I went barefooted just spring, summer, and fall.
Yeah.
Then when school started and I had to put the shoes on, I remember it just felt so unnatural, just weird, Now I can't stand to go without my shoes.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking I can't go barefoot for nothing.
But our feet would get tough.
Yeah.
We could walk. I remember when we'd go to town now in the summertime, and, July and August in Georgia is extremely hot.
Yeah.
And we'd get out there on the pavement in town, and that was very uncomfortable. But now the dirt, rocks and dirt, we didn't even feel it. Our feet would get so tough.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I kind of actually like that you said it was just another day for Christmas, because we kind of, now it seems normal to celebrate Christmas from Thanksgiving basically to New Year's.
Yeah.
And sometimes even before that, with some stores, you walk in and you're bombarded by Christmas. But in a way, I think that kind of cheapens it, because you know what I mean? You just see it so much, it doesn't really become special anymore.
No.
So for you, like the treat bag and the bicycles and stuff like that was special because it wasn't it wasn't a month after month occurrence.
No,
right?
Oh, definitely not. And it was more of a celebration of Christ and being thankful for what we had, not what we were going to get.
Oh, that's a really good point. Actually, being thankful for what you had instead of
What you was going to get.
right, like anticipating what's going to be under the tree or whatever, something like that. You were just having to be thankful for just the little things that you already owned.
Yeah.
And if the little treat came along, that was just something extra and special.
Oh, very special.
Well, that's pretty cool.
And like I said, we ate more wild meat than we did anything else.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was 12 years old, I got my first single-shot .22 rifle.
Probably not a good idea.
And, it was. There wasn't anything in those woods that wasn't shot at.
I know.
But, I loved squirrel hunting. We ate a lot of squirrel.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely loved squirrel hunting. And I think I slept with that rifle for about a week after I
It makes me think of the Christmas Story movie, him wanting that little rifle that was off the radio,
Oh, yeah.
and him wanting it, and you'll shoot your eye out, So I thought you guys might enjoy some of them stories. And if I can ever convince him to get on another one, I'll have him thinking of some more stories that we can put together. And really hope you enjoyed this little segment. And there you go. We've got our treat bags ready. We have some extras left over, so we'll be eating on this probably for quite a while. But we really enjoyed making these, and we really hope that you enjoyed watching it. And like I said, comment below if you have ever made these, ever received one, or if you've never seen them before, but you really want to make one now and start the tradition in your own family. And we also hope that you enjoyed hearing some of the stories from the family that used to get these treat bags and how and why they're so special to us. And so stick around for next week, because we're going to have one more very simple Christmas idea that you can give away as a gift that's not going to cost you a lot of money, that's going to be a lot of fun to make, and best part of all, requires no baking. So that's going to be a lot of fun, because you can just put these together and start eating on them immediately. So thanks for watching this one, and we'll see you next time. Bye. You gonna say bye?
Bye.
And if you like historical cooking and unusual cookbooks, here's 2 more videos you might enjoy. And make sure to like and subscribe for more foodie adventures.